What's up, guys? Matt around here for thelines.com, playpicks.com. Going to talk to you about Sunday night football between the Vikings and the Seahawks. Before we get going, as always, please go ahead and give us a subscribe on this channel. We're doing everything for free. Everything at the Lines is for free, so really do appreciate your support. Just hit that subscribe button down below. Go ahead and give us a thumbs up on this thing, and let us know in the comments how you're going to play Sunday night football. What looks to be a high-scoring affair between these two teams. If you head over the Lines, you can see this full betting preview. I'll let you read along as I kind of get through some of the notes here. First and foremost, let's go ahead and take a look at the lines and where they sit. We'll scroll up here at DraftKings, and we find we're sitting at 6.5, 54.5 as of Sunday morning. Over here at FanDuel, we are at 6.5, 54.5, and then over here at BetMGM, we are sitting at 6.5, 55.5 at BetMGM. I'll give it a refresh to make sure that they are still at 55.5 as we're doing this, and they are. Okay, so 6.5, 55.5 there for those guys. So going to have a little bit of wind, a little bit of rain, and that's why this total has started to plummet. This thing opened at 49.5. It shot up all the way to 57.5 as at its peak and is now on the way back down. I'm assuming because people have seen this weather report. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction, but maybe the rise in the total was a little bit of an overreaction as well. Anyway, it's supposed to be, between 10 and 15 mile per hour winds and a little bit of rain. Now, rain, as we know, rain doesn't really affect gameplay all that much unless it comes with, pretty serious either cold or wind. And it doesn't look like we're going to have either one of those situations here. I mean, typically we start to really worry when the wind gets in that 20 mile per hour range. Sustained 15 mile per hour winds can have an effect on a game. So just be sure if that's something you're worried about, to be sure and check that out and see what the weather report ends up being. On the Vikings side, KJ Osborne is out. He's a wide receiver. Chris Boyd and Holton Hill, two corners, are questionable for this game. On the Seahawks side of the ball, Jamal Adams, huge playmaker for them, is out. Quentin Dunbar, according to Pete Carroll, has a pretty good chance of playing. So that's good news. Jordan Brooks and Carlos Hyde might sit this one out again this week, with the Seahawks having a bye next week. Both of these teams look offensively pretty good. Net yards per play for the Vikings, 0.3, which is 12th in the NFL. Net yards per play, 0.2 for the Seahawks, which is 15th. So they're at least in the upper half of the league. If you don't know what net yards per play is, that is you take your yards per play and subtract that by yards per play given up, and that gives you your net yards per play. On the offensive side of the ball, look, I understand the Vikings have looked pretty bad at the beginning of the season, right? I mean, it is nothing really to write home about, and the advanced statistics kind of back that up as well. Whenever we start to look at kind of how they play out as far as, Pro Football Focus pass block rankings or run block rankings or things like that, they are pretty far down the list as far as that goes. 28th in pass blocking, 23rd in run blocking. If you look at their pass offense overall, according to DVOA, they're down at 24th. And so there's just not a ton to really love about this team right now. But look, the last couple of weeks, they have started to turn things around. And that's one of the things that I kind of wanted to really bring up here in this, is they started to turn things around. Because if you look at Pro Football Focus, who kind of really digs in on every single play and then grades each and every week, last couple of weeks, they're actually in the top 10. So tale of two seasons so far in the first four games for the Vikings. Really bad first two games. Starting to show signs of life here in these next two games. 6.4 yards per play. That's actually fourth in all of the NFL. And of course, you had Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson both go for 100 plus yards last week. So they're getting them involved. Apparently there was a come into Jesus meeting where they were told, hey, I'll scroll down here so you can continue to read a little bit further. Where they were told, hey, look, if you need to throw the ball more, throw the ball more. I know, Mike Zimmer wants to run the ball, but he said, hey, look, if you need to throw it, throw it. I don't need to tell you about the Seahawks offense, but I will anyway. It's been amazing. Pass offense, DVOA is 4th overall. Rush offense is 10th overall. Run blocking grade is 6th. So they've been doing well there. 6.7 yards per play. That is 6th second in the entire NFL. Russell Wilson, obviously playing at an MVP caliber. If you look at all of the different markets out there, he's at the very top of that. He has dropped back to pass on 69% of his passes. That leads the league. So they're passing a ton. They're having success doing it. They're moving the ball through the air. This is where things are going to get pretty interesting for this game, and I'll continue to scroll as you want to continue to read along. It's on the defensive side of the ball. Seattle, really good run defense, really, really terrible pass defense. You look at their rush defense, according to Pro Football Focus, it's first overall. You look at their pass rush and coverage grades and all that, it's down in the 30s. If you look at that in DVOA, pass defense, 29th for the Seahawks. So good against the run, really bad against the pass. So the Vikings going to have to get this done through the air if they're going to be able to get this done. We will see Dalvin Cook. Do not get me wrong. I'm just saying, seems like the path to success here would be through the air for the Vikings. Same could be said for the Seahawks against the Vikings. Vikings defense, pass rush is 30th. Russell Wilson should have all day to throw. The rush defense, 31st. If they want to run the ball, they should be able to do so. Their rush defense DVOA, 24th. Pass defense has been a little bit better. DVOA. Coverage grade, however, still down in the lower third of the league. So again, two defenses that are towards the bottom of the league in much of the metrics when it comes to pass defense. Seahawks a little bit better against the run, but should be a bunch of points scored in this game if we kind of go off of what we've seen so far through 4 games. They are, this Vikings defense has given up 291.8 passing yards per game, so nearly 300 yards per game. So let's click over here and let's look at the total, which again is falling. This was at 57.5 yesterday. So this thing is on the move down. Again, I can only assume that is coming from weather reports because we don't have injury reports. We have injury reports come out 90 minutes before the game. So as we record this early on Sunday morning, it has to be due to the weather. So let's just go ahead and make a case for the over at 54.5, and we'll have to see where this ends up by the time maybe you even watch this video or something. But case for the over, for me, pretty simple. 2 extremely high-powered offenses, more so on the Seattle side. Of course, Russell Wilson been able to get done anything he wants to do so far this year. He's running the ball. He's passing deep passes with accuracy. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett have been amazing so far for this team, and they're letting him pass a ton, as we said, and they're letting him pass on early downs. That was the other one of the big things that we've had a problem with the Seattle offense over the last couple of seasons has been the fact that it was like run, then let Russell Wilson pass, or you wait until he gets down in a game, a touchdown or two, and then you just then you turn him loose. You've heard the whole let Russ cook movement out there, and they're doing that so far through 4 weeks, and that's why they find themselves where they find themselves in all of these offensive categories. And then on the other side of the ball, like I said, the Vikings have actually started to find their groove here over the last couple of weeks. They're putting up some pretty good offensive numbers. They're getting Justin Jefferson more involved in that offense. And then on top of that, they were given the go-ahead to go ahead and throw the ball a little bit more and not just rely strictly on that run game and play this pedestrian pace that Mike Zimmer really likes to play in the NFL. But that's just not today's NFL, and I think he's kind of coming around to that a little bit. And so on top of the 2 offenses being good, as we mentioned, both of the pass defenses are not good. And when you have what happens when you pass the ball? Not only do you get yardage in chunks, not only do you score more points, but also when you incomplete, you stop the clock, which extends the game, which helps getting an over home as well. On the under, I mean, look, if you buy into what this weather situation could be, I think that, there's at least some concern there. If you think that the wind and the rain could affect these 2 juggernaut offenses, especially the offense of the Seahawks. I should not really call the Vikings juggernaut, but definitely the Seahawks. That's another reason to do that. If you think that what might happen because of the wind and the rain equals a game that might be more run-focused than previously thought, then with that would lead you to an under as well. 54.5, even though we're on the way down. And, of course, if we wanted to play the under, we'd head over here to MGM where we could play the under at 55.5. But that's a lot of points. 55 points is a lot of points in the NFL. And if you think that this game could be a little bit more run-centric, a little bit more ball control because they don't want to mess with the factors that are going on out there, then you can definitely see an under. You also, a case for the under here could just be that the Vikings regress, right? Like maybe there wasn't all this progress over the last 2 weeks. It was just kind of a small sample size of flukiness, and they're just going to go back to what they've been doing, which is run, and only throw when they have to throw. They love Dalvin Cook, rightfully so. Awesome player. I think that would be a bad strategy against the Seahawks team. Again, they actually defend the run well, do not defend the pass very well at all. Let's take a look at some of these player props and how we're going to go about attacking the player props tonight. When you come down here, look, yes, that number's real. That number's massive. Russell Wilson is sitting at 315 yards. Look, every projection that I do, it very rarely is a projection that I put out going to spit out a number like 315. So like for me to say, oh, it's right in my projection range. Actually, my projections were more Russell Wilson, kind of like 280, high 280s, low 290s. So strictly based off projections alone, I would play the under at 315.5. But with the way this offense is going and the way this game could shoot out, I don't have a ton of confidence in doing that. Just letting you know where my projection sat on this. But again, very rarely are any projections that I put out going to spit out a number as high as 315. It just doesn't happen too incredibly often. When you look down here at the rushing yards, you'll see Cook and Carson and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson at the 23.5, I think, is at least fairly interesting on that. Of course, I would lean towards the over. Russ has been taken off whenever he needs to so far this year. And again, if we think that this game could shoot out, there could be more passing plays. He's dropping back more often, more chances for him to scramble if he does something like that. But really the one that's going to end up the one already in my account is over on Justin Jefferson. 67.5 you see over here on DraftKings, which is already juiced to minus 143. So let's head over here to FanDuel and see what we can get Justin Jefferson for. It's a yard more, but we're paying far less juice. And then over here at BetMGM, you just click this little more tab right here. And you can see, there we go. So we're at 67.5. It is 115, but that's doable here. So we take a look here, pay the extra pennies for the yard. But look, with Justin Jefferson, top 10 in yards per target and yards per catch in the whole NFL. Over the last 3 weeks. Of course, for week one, he didn't get any snaps. For whatever reason, they didn't get him out on the field. But since he's been out on the field and playing, top 10 in yards per target, top 10 in yards per catch, he's going to draw Trey Flowers in coverage a lot of times, a matchup he should be able to win more times than not. And again, if you are the Vikings, and I'm going with assumption of rational coaching here, you don't just run the ball into the strength of the defense here over and over and over again, where Jamal Adams is out of the secondary. They're going to be beat up at linebacker. They're going to be beat up, they're already beat up at corner, that you would go to where that weakness would be, and that would be through the air. Justin Jefferson over 67.5, the prop that is in my account, and probably my most confident bet in this entire game. So we'll go back over here and we'll look at a side. This thing has moved off of the 7 and has moved to 6.5. This is pretty interesting for me because at a full touchdown, I thought the Vikings were at least somewhat appealing here in a game where I could see this thing just kind of being trading scores and nobody really ever getting out in front of another one more than a score. Now that we've fallen down to 6.5, and we're actually looks like we're even further on the way to 6 with this 6.5 getting juiced over here on DraftKings. Maybe we can, it's at least 110 over here at FanDuel. It might probably is going to become a stay away for me. Look, if you're watching this late and you've missed all the other games and you're looking to do a teaser, or if you're catching this early, I don't hate teasing this game, either way, to be honest with you. Like I said, I think this is a 1-score game. So if you bring the Seahawks down to basically a pick, which would just be a half point, or bring this up through the 7 and through even the lesser key number, but still a key-ish number of 10, I don't mind that play at all. If you're pairing that up with one of the earlier games, if you're doing a same game, I'm always going to lean towards the over in a game like this, right? So, if I were to do that, probably bring the Seahawks down again to a half point, and then tease this down to 48.5, and then play over in a same game teaser. if I'm looking to play this kind of individually. If I'm looking at the total, if I had to play this thing as it sits right now, look, I'd still play the over. A lot of times we overreact to weather. Now, Seattle's weird. Seattle weather can change really quickly. So again, I'm doing this early Sunday morning. Be sure and check before you make that bet. If this is a little bit later in the day for you, maybe it's gotten worse. But, look, a little bit of rain in Seattle. One, rain doesn't really affect us all that much anyway. 2, rain in Seattle is fairly normal. And 3, the wind situation, I think people freak out about the wind a little bit more than they should. It really only needs to be kind of those much higher sustained winds when we really see precipitous fall off from the offense production side of things. And so again, if it gets to that area, definitely could, and definitely could affect the scoring here. But as we sit right now, if we're talking 10, 12 mile an hour winds, gusts of 15, it's not going to make that big a difference in the scoring. So I would still be leaning towards the over. But look, if this thing's going to continue to fall, I would hold off, right? I mean, if people are going to be worried about this wind and situation, wait till this thing hits 53 and a half or 52 and a half or whatever it might be. If people are going to start bailing because of that. So certainly something I would do, but definitely Jordan Jefferson over in there. Like I said, anchoring either one of these sides to a teaser earlier in the day, I think is perfectly fine. I think that both sides could hit here. Seattle by a field goal, Seattle by 6, something like that. Get you home. So either side I think is perfectly fine. Again, the same game one as well. Probably would just go down on the Seahawks to a half point and then come to 48.5 on the over if I was doing a same game teaser as well. Guys, here's the written breakdown over here, so be sure and take a look at that. And in a weird week, just pay attention to the news. Games are getting moved, games are getting postponed, players are getting quarantined and all the stuff like that. It's the weird situation, so be sure and know that you're on top of all of that news. Head to the lines. We'll definitely keep you in touch with everything that's going on over there as well. If you're in any of these states right here, just click on your state and you're going to get the very best offers that you can possibly get at any of these sports books. Definitely have multiple sports books because, as you just saw, the difference between DraftKings and FanDuel and MGM and all these other ones can vary greatly as far as what price you're getting, what number you're getting, and stuff like that. So important for that to be a successful bettor as well. Subscribe to this page, please, please, please. Appreciate all of your support here as we continue to grow this thing. Give us a thumbs up and let us know how you're going to play this game tonight in the comments section below. Good luck on all of your bets on Sunday Night Football.